always speaking the truth. Now, if I get some numbers that are not accurate, I will let you know that I based what I told you on those numbers, and I will correct them, and I'll get back to you, and I'll tell you. So you can trust me with your money. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a politician. And finally, accountability. And this is where I'm going to reach into you guys tonight. Okay. I also caused City Council to form an investment oversight committee. Believe it or not, the treasurer has do you know that you have $90 million in savings? How many of you guys know you have $90 million in savings? Right, yeah. Right. The treasurer is the only person in charge of that money. Only person, one person in charge of $90 million. I caused the City Council to form an oversight committee. There is not a single citizen on that oversight committee. So I am asking you guys here tonight, if anybody has any expertise with respect to bonds and AAA rated investments, please sign up over here at my desk afterwards, because I want the citizens to become involved. I want you guys to know what I'm doing. I want to be accountable. So trust, honest, accountable. With that, I thank you very much and turn it back to Dave. I want you to know, I want you to be as proud of me as we are of the fire department.
All right, thank you, Sue. So remember, when you get your ballots, put a check next to the box Savage for Hemet City Treasurer. Everybody got that, Savage? All right, before we continue, I'd like to bring up all my brothers, guys I work with, guys I live with. Come on up here. Get back here. Line up. You all know how to do it. Everyone's been through the fire academy once or twice. These are my friends. These are my family. These are men that I work with day in and day out. We make a career here in Hemet, and we do it from our hearts for everybody here. Everybody's had an option to go somewhere else, but we stay.
Thank you.
We believe in what Hemet has and what we can continue to provide for you guys. So, these are the Hemet firefighters.
Yeah!
Small portion, the ones off duty. All right. Next, we're going to bring up Mr. Joe Males. Give you a little taste of what he's going to do for you for District 4.
Oh boy. Hello everyone, ladies, gentlemen, thank you for coming, thank you for being here with us. I'd like to start off by reading a statement that I basically have written here that I had to put on Facebook because of all the talk and all the negative stuff that's going on there by the opposing people, by the people that are trying to stay in power and don't know how to let go of power. But anyways, the statement, thank you. Okay, political campaigns are full of noise. Every once in a while that noise gets a little out of control, and unfortunately we come to expect that kind of noise from Hemet. Last week a few people who want to maintain the status quo at City Hall made a desperate attempt to claim my candidate filings were not done correctly. I want to assure everyone in the 4th District that my campaign filings were done correctly and in accordance with every law and every regulation. It may eventually take a court ruling to prove them wrong. The noise is coming from a few who are wrongly trying to hang on to their power in City Hall. They know their days in control are numbered, and they know that I'm going to win on election day. Perhaps that desperation is what has driven them fabricating false and malicious claims against my candidacy. I urge you to vote for me, Joe Males, to make sure transparency is restored at Hemet City Hall. I'll work for you, not the people wrongly trying to hang on their influence over the city officials. And I want to thank you to the scores of District 4 voters who have already conveyed their support for my campaign. My wife and I deeply appreciate your strong support, and we will make sure that the misguided efforts of a few city officials do not prevent me from serving as your next representative on the Hemet City Council. Thank you. Now, a lot of people have asked me why I'm running, and I get pretty shook up when I tell them why. I lost a son here in Hemet in 2016, a Marine that served our country for 4 years. His case went cold, and I swore that I would not let his case go cold, and I said that I'll fight and do whatever I can to bring justice to Hemet, to my son, to my family, and we're going to beat this. And I'm asking you all to vote for me, and so we can straighten up this city and stop all the negative stuff that's going on, and just clean it up. And that's what I want to do. I'm not a politician. I'm just an average family man that's been married for 35 years with my wife. I have 5 kids, 1 who's gone now, and 11 grandchildren. And I just want this city to be safe for my grandchildren, for my family, and for anyone else that has kids that they don't have to go through what I did. And I thank you. If there's any...
Sorry for your loss.
Hoorah! Marine Corps! And I'm a Marine Corps veteran. So thank you all, and I appreciate you all coming down here and listening to us. Thank you.
Good job.
All right, let's hear one more time for Joe Males for District 4. Remember, anybody lives in District 4, when you get that ballot, put the check box in the Males. Males for District 4, thank you. All right, next, we're going to bring our incumbent, local real estate agent, and a veteran in District 3,
I'm over here.
Mr. Michael Percival.
Good evening. How's everybody today? Awesome. You guys having fun out here? Yes. Right on. So my name is Michael Percival. I am, like Dave mentioned, the incumbent running for District 3. But before I get into that, let's be real. These guys are all firefighters because everybody loves a good firefighter, right? With that, I want to thank these guys for their support for me. They know what my position has always been when it comes to public sector unions, but I support these guys because these guys support our community. And I vowed to them that when I first got elected in 2016, that I would fight for the Hemet Fire Department and make sure that the Hemet Fire Department would not leave and be contracted out with CAL FIRE like what was attempted to happen several years before I got elected. So I vow to that still to this day, that if I get reelected, I'm not going to let these guys go anywhere. So unfortunately, they're stuck. They're stuck. But enough about that. Enough about that. Small bean. What's most important for me is that I continue to fight for this community, for the city of Hemet, for the residents of Hemet. I've been a resident of Hemet now 20 years. I've got 2 grown boys who both graduated from West Valley High School. And I now have 2 granddaughters that I want to see, as Joe mentioned, grow up in a safe community, and I want to see that for my grandkids also. I don't have near as many as Joe does, but we're working on it. I'm having a conversation with my boys. So with that, so I'm in it for this community. Again, I want this community to stay safe, to be safe. It's difficult at a city council level with all the pressures that we have to deal with coming from the state of California. Hemet is kind of unique in California. It's a little more conservative of a community as opposed to LA, San Francisco, which are the drivers of what goes on in Sacramento and the legislation that comes down from Sacramento. So it's a constant battle to make sure that we're able to keep what's important to the values of the residents of Hemet. And so I continue to fight for that as being on regional boards, as part of my position on council. I fight for that because it's all about Hemet. It's about this community, the love for this community that I have for my kids, for my grandkids, for your grandkids, and for you, for all of you. As was mentioned, I am a real estate broker, so why am I in this, right? Well, if property values, I mean, everybody lives in a house, whether you're a homeowner, a property owner, or a tenant, you live in a house. And so it's important for me to be able to bring my background and knowledge in real estate to protect you and your investment in your home and the value that you bring to this community. It doesn't matter if you're a renter or an owner, you still bring value to this community because you live here, you work here, you raise your kids here, your grandkids here, and it's all about Hemet. Keeping Hemet first. I'm always going to keep Hemet first in every decision that I make on council. Every decision that I've made up until this point has been, one, does it meet the community standard, if you will, and how Hemet, the residents of Hemet want it to be. That's my number one priority. The next priority when I make a decision on Hemet, does it fall, especially when it comes to the budget, does it fall in line with the values of this community? Does it fall in line with the resolution that was passed by the council about Measure U funds, protecting your tax dollars to make sure your tax dollars continue to support public safety? That's the biggest reason why I voted against the last budget, this current budget that we're in, because it, one, defunded the police, it, two, defunded the fire department, and I was adamantly opposed to that. It didn't fall in line with the resolution that all of the council signed on to protect Measure U funds. That's important to me. Protect those dollars, protect these guys, protect their jobs, because they do what? They protect all of us every day. When you pick up that phone and call 911, whether you be a police officer or a firefighter, these are the guys that are going to respond. That's important to me. Dave mentioned early on economic development. I am a real estate broker, so I understand the real estate market. I understand what it takes to get businesses to want to come here. If we continue to have businesses leave and go to other places, we're losing out on that tax dollar, those tax revenues that help pay for these guys and help provide that public safety level that we've all come to expect. That's important to me. They mentioned homelessness. Homelessness is a chronic problem. The state of California does not help Hemet at all when it comes to the laws that they pass. We continue to fight. Carly is on one of the task force for homelessness. I support the work that she does on that task force because I know she can't do it alone. I try to give her the help that I can give her. But she puts a lot of effort into that, and I support her for doing that. Homelessness is a deep subject, right? I've talked to homeless people. A lot of times they don't want off the streets. They're quite happy and content with the life that they're living. And that's their choice. That's their right as a human being. It's up to us to encourage them to get the help that they need, whether it be mental health, whether it be dependency help. It's up to us to help guide them in that direction to better our community, because if we've got homelessness everywhere, businesses don't want to come here because then they're stepping over homeless. We don't want that. So public safety, economic development, and quality of life are the issues that are important to me and my candidacy. The support of these guys and the police officers that can't be here, even if the police don't want to support this time around, they still have my support because they're part of public safety. And public safety is important to me, to this community, because it benefits all of us. So again, I humbly request your vote if you live in District 3. Michael Percival for Hemet City Council. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Michael. One more round of applause. Mike Percival. When you get your ballot, you live in District 3, put the check box next to Percival. And since we're just a tad bit early, we have till 8 o'clock. I'm going to ask you guys to indulge me for a little bit. I'd just like to let each guy come up, tell you his name, his rank, and how many years he's been here. Is that be okay with everybody? All right, one at a time, just come up real quick.
Jordan Loomis, probationary firefighter, been here for about 6 months now, enjoying every minute of it.
Captain Fredo. Aaron Sheehy, I'm an engineer paramedic. I've been here for 6 years.
Hey, Captain.
My name is John Rader. I'm an engineer, and I've been here about 10 years.
Go, John.
Dan Billington, I'm an engineer in 15 years.
Zach Petit, I grew up in the Valley. I've been here at the Hemet Fire Department for just about 4 years.
Dave Parkin, I'm a fire captain. I've been here going on 21 years.
Jonathan Cade. I'm a firefighter paramedic and I've been here a year and a half.
Eric Janner, fire captain, been here for 20 years. Robert Assay, firefighter, paramedic, been here about 5 years.
Scott Durbin, engineer paramedic, 15 years.
Brandon Montano, probationary firefighter paramedic, and I've been here about 6 months.
All right, I'm Dave Fredo. I'm a fire captain. I've been here for 17 years. I think what you'll see is that your firefighters are dedicated to this community, the betterment of the community, the economic development of the community, fixing the homeless problem, working with City Hall, working with our elected officials, working with our department heads to have a strong labor management relationship to make our city better, to work together for a sustainable future.
Thank you.
All right, now last but not least, we're going to bring the ringer in. I think you all know who I'm talking about. This is our City Council member, District 1, the feisty, the awesome Carly Meyer.
Listen, we're all here because we love Hemet. Speak into this thing. I'm loud, so I don't know how to stop picking me up. We're all here because we love Hemet, right? Yeah. Did you say that? Yes. This year we have an opportunity to make a big change in this town. And I'm introduced up here as your incumbent running for District 1. And with that, I'm going to throw in a little disclaimer. I've been in the minority as an incumbent for the last 4 years. And when I say that, I voted with my Percival against a budget that violates our Measure You promise to the people. Your vote counts. I voted no against giving our high-priced attorney 2 raises this year to $2.1 million. Good job, Carly. And most importantly, we were able to convince council to save $1 million at least on our workers' comp program. Because if we indeed are struggling as a city, we do not need the Cadillac plan. Is that right? Right. We can do a little bit of math, and we can be very careful about what we're doing. And we can save $2.1 million. You think about all the projects that need paving. We get many complaints on these. And as a council, we cannot be scared to get these little jobs done. We have a homeless issue. We don't need to dissolve the homeless task force. We need to talk about real issues. Regardless on your feelings, no one wants to see homeless people on our streets. So this rolls right into our economic development. In order to bring more businesses and jobs, we have to have clean streets. Yes. Because what business is going to drive through Hemet and say, I want to go there because? Now, I will tell you that it takes more than 5 people sitting up on a dais to make change in this town. You look around right now at all the people here, and I have heard from so many people in our valley that are ready for change. They're dying for change. Yes. This year will be the year that we will free Hemet. We can be free from the bondage of those who make promises and threats to kick us out of office because we want to be financially sound. I'm so sorry. We have constant pressure, and I'm not sure why that they don't stand for honesty, integrity, open government, open the books, open the meetings. You deserve to be heard. We are here as your representative, and we are here for you. Yeah.
not a real secret.
It's not a secret. You'll see in a second, Rusty. So, exactly. Before I go, I just want the people of Hemet to know that your involvement in our city is what makes community. And your representatives are here, and we are running on what we can do for Hemet. We are running on being kind. And we don't need all the extra noise. Thank you for coming tonight.
All right, thank you, Carly. Carly Meyer, District 1. When the ballot comes, we're going to vote for Carly, right? Vote for Carly. All right. I'd like to bring up one more gentleman who the Hemet firefighters are endorsing for California State Assembly District 42, Mr. Andrew Kodiak.
Boy, I love Hemet.
Me too.
So if you know anything about me, I was born and raised here in Hemet, just like you heard some of these firefighters. Just like Carly, this is my home turf, even though I've been on San Jacinto City Council for 10 years. I'm currently the mayor there in San Jacinto. And I'm very proud of what we've done in San Jacinto the last 10 years. What do you guys think about San Jacinto? Absolutely. What I brought back to San Jacinto was local control. This is a big difference from the special interests and the wealthy getting wealthier, right? The have-nots not having in our community. This meeting should have never happened down Florida Avenue, right? That wouldn't have happened on my watch. I'll tell you that much. When I talk about bringing things back to San Jacinto Valley and Hemet, we suffered when 74 and 79 were no longer the highways that came through and were the major highways. What do I mean by that? We had the Route 66 effect happen to us, right? You all know Route 66. They were the highways that were there, and the cities were there prospered until the interstates happened, right? That's what happened to Hemet and San Jacinto. The 10 freeway, the 215, the 15, the 60 were all built around us, and we were no longer the economy. Our buildings dilapidated, the wealthy bought them, and businesses are still leaving, right? I have fought for the last 10 years to bring our highways to our valley, and the first one is under construction. Starting in Paris. It will be here in roughly 4 to 6 years. This is how we reopen our economy, is fighting for the local people. Fighting the other cities in the county. Fighting to represent lower income, right? How many of you know all the housing that we have going in San Jacinto, low income, and the families that we're bringing to the valley for the first time, young families making their way in this beautiful valley we have, right? That's not the only thing. Our incumbent that I'm challenging and his millions of dollars that don't mean anything because your voice all counts and we want 1 point apart in the primary with just a little bit of money, he's fighting to open Disneyland. I don't care about Disneyland. I care about this valley. I care about opening our arts, or the Ramona Bowl, the tourism that brought the people in and the money from the outside into our businesses here, right? I have that passion because of my love for this valley. I have this because of your energy and your care to come out tonight to be energized, to bring back local control into Hemet and San Jacinto and make this valley prosper once again. I will not defund our public safety. Our men and women in blue, they put their boots up and they show up whenever we need them to, right? Our elected need to do the same thing. There's no more easy votes, or I'm not going to vote on this, or it's okay when the budget passes. No longer. The public safety in our valley, it doesn't matter what your party preference is, you care about it. And you recognize that it's been being reduced, and you recognize we have a homeless problem, and it's time that we support and no longer cut these departments, we cut the departments that have fat in it, right?
Right, exactly.
So, with this being a grassroots movement and it gets big money that you see, fancy flyers or commercials, they're going to be coming against these candidates or myself, it doesn't matter. Because right now we have keyboard warriors. I know some of you out there, right? Social media, emails that you can send out and spread the word to everybody in this community, especially even Crazy Eddie, right? The people voice matters. Your freedom to vote, your freedom to fight for this valley and turn this back into what it was, a jewel with all that we have, is the most important thing. As a veteran, I can tell you, I'm battle ready, and I'm going to do everything I can to fight for this valley. And what I mean by that is I lead by example. In San Jacinto, we brought 2 new manufacturers creating hundreds of jobs to our valley for people to work here instead of having to commute. Right? Those are employers that give back to our charities or give back to our schools and to our families where they don't have to commute. These are for the hardworking parents, right? Where both of them have to work and they have to leave and leave their kids at home. They deserve better in California. We deserve better. Education's got to be a priority. Trade schools for our young people to learn good paying jobs has got to be a priority. So anyways, when you come out to vote, when you hear words, emails going out, spread that, because the power of the people is alive in this election season. Monday night, I will be having a town hall online highlighting Joe Mails to get the word out. I encourage everybody to log on to my Facebook page, Kotyuk. You can find this very easily, Kotyuk Assembly. Register for that and spread the word so people can listen to Joe, listen to his vision as a small businessman to bring jobs back here, to support public safety, bring the highways, which by the way, the Hemet representative doesn't show up half the time to represent you for the highways. You would think this is one of the most important things to this valley. We need somebody who's going to show up just like these men, right? Yeah. That's right. San Jacinto Valley first. Vote for Kotyuk. I will always be there for you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Andrew, very much. Andrew Kotyuk, Assembly District 42. Finally, there was something I wanted to address with everybody, and it's in regards to a little history. 6 years ago, at this time, was a dark place for us, the Hemet Fire Department. We were facing being contracted out, half our personnel being put on the street. We fought back, we worked hard, and we won.
Amen. Yeah.
We found the truth through the mucky, dark stuff, and here we are. And believe it or not, those who sought to get rid of us 6 years ago, we and them have been able to come across the aisle and find a common ground and work together. We really have. So when you guys see the garbage on social media, which is a dark, terrible place, you'll get down some holes you'll never come out of. It doesn't matter who's contributed to whose campaign, okay? The word conservative is not a bad word. The word liberal is not a bad word. The word union is not a bad word, because really none of that matters in this valley, right? Because we're not voting party lines. What we're voting is what's best for Hemet, okay? Andrew is a conservative. Carly's a conservative. Michael's a conservative. Joe's a conservative. All right, I'm a union president. Think about it. That's the elephant in the room here. Right? That's the truth of the matter, but yet we can find common ground. They all support public safety. They all support economic development. They all support fixing the homeless problem. They all support fixing our streets. They all support local control. Why? Because when you have local control of your services, you can work directly with those services to fix the issues that are happening locally. Remember that. So, that's the message I wanted to send. We are ecstatic about these candidates, and we want to do everything we can to support them and push them across the line. We are the real people who are supporting them. These are the real candidates for office And if you have questions of any of us or any of them, now is the time. Don't get on your phone and push the keyboard. Ask the people, because these are the real people right here, right now. It's not the BS that you see on Facebook. So without further ado, last thing I want to do is bring up all our candidates at once. Bring them together. Sue, Michael, Carly, Andrew, Joe. We'll all stand together for a few pictures and we'll call it a night.
Where's our Sue?
Right here.
All right. You can squeeze right in the middle here, sweetheart.
Good, Ken.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll be at the table just down here to the left on Florida if you want to talk to any of the candidates or us. We'll be here for probably another 35, 40 minutes.
I just want to say thank you to the firefighters for endorsing me. I should have said that, but I didn't, and I found a new friend in David, and he's done a lot for my campaign. I thank you very much.
Okay, guys, we're going to go around the corner so that Rocky can play some music, and to the thousands and thousands. First of all, let's give a big hand to Eddie George and Hemet Eddie's going to follow us around for the thousands of viewers on Eddie's feed. We're going to be asking some questions and getting some answers from the candidates. So we're going to go around the corner. Thank you. Are you good? Do you want to come around?
You need a power source over there?
Yeah.
Okay, let me
Alright, you need me to do anything? You got to go around here?
I
Yeah.
wish that was still down for because that was so great when you open up the sanctuary and all the Randy Brown and
This whole thing right here?
who's that big officer that
All right, remember everybody, you got to vote. It's kind of like you.
All right, folks, bear with me. I'm going to carry you guys around the other end.
Yeah, we're first and third.
I know. I'm not sure. It's not sure if Jerry shows his. How's it just MC the whole thing. But I love him. Yeah, he's a good guy. No, I'd work. I wouldn't work with wrestling. Oh, you full shit is Christmas turkey. Worse sayings. Ain't worth powder meant to blow him out.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much. We're here with someone with a storied CV, resume, current San Jacinto Mayor, Andrew Kaya. It's an honor. You're also an investment advisor and former city councilman, and now you're running for District 2 Assembly. The seat once, and he's trying again, Chad Meade, once held by Chad Meade. And interesting that we were speaking, and my question was going to be about jumping parties and how he kind of left the Republican Party in the lurch. But then when we looked at things like, one of his quotes was, "I don't think anyone should be scared of a large tax increase." And he indeed was the architect of the largest gas hike in California state history. One of the proponents of Prop 145, sometimes called the pedophile bill. You just very quickly kind of schooled me on a completely different track. So you say it's not about party affiliation. And why do you say that?
Yeah. Well, so, right now what I see across this valley is, alignment of some values that are very important to local control in people. And it doesn't matter what your party preference is, whether you're Republican or Democrat or Independent, you care about public safety. You want somebody who's going to fight for the beliefs that are here. Our economy in the valley that I talked about a little bit earlier, about bringing jobs here, bringing those highways back that open up the prosperity into our community that you see in so many other communities that have those highways and off-ramps, that's not a partisan issue. And the same thing goes for education, our youth and affordable housing, and really making that economy work in a community and tourism. Those aren't partisan issues, and that's what we need in this valley right now. We need somebody who's going to step up, much like I did in San Jacinto at the request of the community. I never planned on being on city council. I was asked to step up and turn that community around with my business acumen. We have several small businesses, my wife, my partners, and I've been blessed in this valley, born and raised here, to create those jobs and create those economies. And we give back to countless charities in this community. We care about it so much. So that's what I mean by that. Is it's not about party preference. It's about our community.
Right, and it's more about local, and as they say, all politics is local. But you brought up a good point about Disney World and opening up tourism there, but not our local community. Expound on that.
Absolutely. So, this community has been built on tourism, much like the Ramona Bowl, the arts, the theater, these sort of things, and they've been used for generations to draw people in. When this valley has the wildflowers blooming and it's beautiful here, we have snow-capped mountains here, it draws people in, and those people usually move here. And the businesses really do well when everybody's coming in this community, right? Because it's new dollars coming in. It's not you and I, Mark, exchanging the same dollar. Right. It's somebody else joining the party, and now they're putting their money in the pocket, right? So we want tourism. We want people to come into our community, and we need to open up here. And what I meant by that statement earlier is our incumbent, Healy, is doing what special interests, right, want him to do. He's not voting, he's not fighting for the people, just like the median. He didn't stop the median on Florida Avenue. So recently he came out with a comment about supporting the opening of Disneyland. Wait a minute here. Disneyland's not even in this guy's district, right? I mean, what about our tourism here, right? I fought to help open Saboba, bring that back. We need to open up Ramona Bowl. We need to open up the tourism back into our community and those dollars here. We need somebody who's going to fight for those things instead of things that just catch airwaves in other districts.
Exactly. And just finally, I think it was interesting the way you even got into the race. You sort of met the call because there was a vacuum, since it was sort of unforeseen, and he just jumped quickly to becoming an independent. And what was the deciding factor? What made you say, you know what, I'm going to take a chance? And you barely beat the buzzer to get your filings in, but you took up the mantle. What was that deciding factor? What made you decide I'm going to do this?
Well, it's a lack of leadership, right? When our representative isn't showing up to vote, right? So like AB5, right? He didn't show up to vote. There was another bill to increase property taxes. He didn't show up to vote. There were some public safety issues as well. He didn't show up to vote. Our guy's not even showing up. And so just like public safety, right? Those guys, pull their boots up and they show up whenever needed, right? That's their job. And being born and raised here, that's where I've been really blessed in this valley. It's given so much back to my family and my wife. I have 20 years, and my children that I've raised here also is, I came from blue collar into white collar to create jobs here and give back. And when I see our community not being represented, our community not being fought for on the highways or the median, or even voting, right, on issues, that was the call to action. And, as a veteran, God and country in this community, and I'll do anything for it. I've been blessed enough to be able to do something. So my wife said, Andrew, the time's come, you step up again for this valley, and so it was an easy decision at that point.
Beautiful. Andrew Katia, District 42, thank you so much. Bless you.
You betcha. Thank you all.
And do we have any questions from anybody in the public? Make sure you can go ahead and ask your questions now.
That's great. Yeah. It's a good opportunity in front of people who haven't asked questions.
As soon as I saw that, I thought, I got to throw that stuff in.
Yeah, ask them if anybody wants to ask Mr. Kodiak any questions, do now. Forever hold your peace.
I did get one question about the highways before I left, and so I don't know if you want me to go into detail.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
So the question was, why are the highways important, and what can we do about it? And so, there's several things that can be done about it. What I mean by that is, I've represented the Valley for literally 10 years on Riverside County Transportation Commission, and what I saw was after the last recession, we fought for federal dollars and state dollars that come out usually in a transportation form or grant. And the federal government typically does this after a recession, right? We just had a recession, folks, right? I think everybody knows that on this side. And so right now, our projects are queued up finally, and it's taking generations, but finally, Highway 79 and Mid-County Parkway, they're queued up as the #1 project in Riverside County, right? Problem is that they're expensive, they're $1 billion, right? But you look at Poley and Coachella Valley or the Pass area, they're important to the whole region. And the reason being is that our projects are the first one that will interconnect, right, and support connecting the western portion of the county with the eastern portion of the county. Everything feeds through the 10 freeway, right? And for generations, our county has invested money to connect to other counties, right? Because commuters, right? Jobs in Orange County, jobs in LA, jobs in San Diego. Well, no more. We've closed that chapter. We've developed as a county. So now the point is we want to invest inside Riverside County and keep jobs here, which is really those arterials to connect one side to the other. And so we need representatives like the council and potential candidates you heard in Hemet to be there representing us. Because if you don't show up to vote at RCTC to vote for our highways, guess what? Corona or some other city is going to fight for those dollars because we're limited dollars, right? We need good representation to do that, to show up. And so at the state level, what I can do is I can obviously represent and fight at the state or federal level to fight for those transportation bills. And what I mean by that is when I first came on council after the last recession, everyone knows the 91-15 interchange, right? That huge flyover we did in Corona. Half that money came through infrastructure financing after the last recession. $500 million. That's the kind of money that's going to be on the table here in the next few years coming out of this, right, to pull us out of recession.
We need someone to show up and make sure.
That's right. We need somebody to push that issue and go grab those dollars. So I can work with our cities and the representation from my love on both sides, Hemet or San Jacinto, to truly represent and make those things happen for us.
So again, if you guys want someone to show up for you, you've got to show up at the polls and vote for Andrew Kodiak, District 42. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Absolutely. Any other questions or anything coming in?
I don't have any community questions.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you all, Central Valley.
Only comment we have is Jerry Fontes says it's definitely time for some fresh blood. Glad to see that there is a candidate that you can actually talk to that will represent us all.
Beautiful.
And Jeremy Fontes has done a great job on our planning commission, a young veteran family in our community, and glad he's joining and stepping up. He's running for school board in San Jacinto
Jeremy
as well.
Fontes. Okay, great. All right. And who do we have?
Who do we have next?
Next victim. Thank you.
Next victim? Joe?
All right, definitely. And I will send you the, I'll send you the yours.
Yes.
Anything I can do for you?
I know him get the beach channel started. I think we're in office building, so we can
Oh,
always
yeah.
talk a little bit
Oh,
about.
all right.
His wife took his sign.
So we need, you have a sign for you?
I don't have a sign. My sign is big like that.
You want me to take my sign down?
I made, yes, please.
We'll just paint over it and put Sue Savage.
And if you guys want one of these signs in your yards, just make sure you hit up Andrew Cut.
Are we still going?
You're still alive, so you want to talk while we're waiting on the next?
No, I put all my signs out.
Jeremy Fontes, that's great. Good for you.
Everything's working.
Good luck. Now, now I have a very special interview. This is a wonderful lady. Get ready, because you got a fighter.
We got a fighter on our hands, folks.
It's good to see you.
It's nice to see you. Nice to see you, Mark.
And this lady, to me, is the embodiment of the answer to what's been going on. For a lot of the
focus on Mark.
a lot of
that was long
economic problems in and I'm going to shut up until Eddie tells me it's time to go again. Are we good, or what?
You're good. Keep going.
You want us to keep going? Okay, so first of all, I know the story.
They were in frame there,
What
but the screen
did
needed to be
you?
shrunk down and done.
How did you? You said it was a sort of a lapse of judgment, but what made you decide to run for city treasurer?
What made me run for city treasurer is for 2.5 years, I went to city council probably every meeting, and I would stand in front of the city council and I would say, here's what is wrong with the investment portfolio. You need to keep the money safe in AAA rated bonds. You need to keep your money below the FDIC insurance level. You need to have investment oversight. You need to obey the laws of California. So finally, this time, after 24 years, the current treasurer is no longer running. And council came to me and said, Sue, put up or shut up.
Right.
So I have decided to run for treasurer, because if I can do that much as a citizen, imagine what I can do as treasurer for real.
You know what, Sue, that to me is the beautiful part of your story, that it's that the old adage of you were already doing the job before you got the job, and you must have a real passion for
money.
The type of work.
She's got a passion. I've got a passion for money. I really like money, and that's why every time I'm in front of city council, I'm telling you guys need to be making more money.
No, and that's the beautiful thing, that you
make more money.
You were just a citizen who said this is wrong, and we got to keep an eye on this. And tell us, just I have a sort of a set question that has some history behind it, but before I get to that, you were instrumental in the city literally having to move money. And tell us about that. Really, we're only getting a paltry quarter of a percentage, but tell us about that.
Absolutely correct. There's $90 million.
That figure alone takes me out. That little Hemet.
Little Hemet, taxpayers has $90 million in an investment portfolio. So I'm going to talk about $500,000 of it, $495,000 of it, okay? I am looking down through the investments and I'm seeing what everything's earning, and everything's earning 2.5%, 3%. And I get to this thing that's 0.25%. And I'm saying, it's a CD. And I'm saying, how can a CD be earning 0.25%? Okay, so I go down and I investigate at the bank where the CD's held. I go and I talk actually to the mayor at the time, and I talk to the people and I make them tell me what's going on.
Right, now, Sue, I'm going to stop you for just a quick second.
Sure.
You know facts and figures better than I do, but 0.25%. Wouldn't the average personal investor putting maybe just $500 away get that kind of a rate?
Well, not at this very point in time, that's true, but when they put it away, they were earning 3 or 4%. So why is this only 0.25%? Right. So I talked to every single council member, including members here. I went down and I talked to the president of the bank, and I said, this CD should not be here. This CD should be, I believe the citizens of Hemet deserve better, deserve top income for their money.
Right.
So he agreed that take the CD out. I would go talk to the city
So it's
council.
just sitting there and.
No,
you have
he
to-
said, and then I talked to city council people and they say, take the CD out. Month after month, the CD does not come out. So, no lie. So, for a fact, I finally talked to the city attorney and I told him legally, here is what the state requires. So, either you guys can comply with the law, or we'll talk about it in court. And I'll be darned, but what the CD did not come out of the bank, and we earned as taxpayers of Hemet $15,000 a year more in interest on a measly $495,000.
Now, let me just ask you, wasn't there also some risk exposure because of some of the problems that you found? What was that about? That they weren't really,
Which is why the attorney listened to me. The law requires that our taxpayers, when you give up your tax dollars, they're to be kept safe. Okay? You're to keep your tax dollars safe. That means they're not to be above FDIC insurance, which is $250,000. You just heard me mention this CD was $495,000 in one bank.
So almost $500,000 was exposed, essentially.
$500,000 was exposed, exactly as the case. If that bank would have gone under, we all know banks do go under, okay, we would have been hanging in the wind for $250,000. So that is ultimately how I got them to move it, because I said, look, what you're doing is illegal.
And even at that, how long did it actually take you? You had to be persistent. How long did it take you to finally
I
get it?
believe it was a year and a half.
I
I don't know if these guys got sick of it.
About a year and a half.
Yes, but nonetheless, let me point out, it is not just one person that can do this. It is an example that a person can, but we need the Hemet people. We need people like you.
We need you.
No, we need people like you. We need people like Joe Mayles. We need people like Mike Percival, who are going to fight for the city to make it better. All of us together have to work. So.
Now, the question that I have is for you, but it's not exactly the treasurer's bailiwick, let's say.
Sure.
But from speaking to people, and I will just say that I literally today was on the phone with State Auditor Elaine Howe's office.
Yes.
Twice for a little over an hour.
Yes.
And their public relations, the head of their public relations, and their office, and spoke with several people there. And I'm just going to read you a little background to the question, and then I just want your take on it.
Sure.
As we all know, there's been some problems with the cities. And believe me, if I don't ask the right question, she will tell me that. She will correct me without a problem. But there have been some problems with the money management, including the Measure U funds and the allocation and things like that. There's also one other thing that I think I literally, my jaw dropped when I read this, that you had pointed out that there hasn't been an audit in almost a quarter century.
Of the investment funds.
Right, of the investment funds.
Which we're talking about. That is absolutely correct.
Right, and for a city that's on the high risk list for the state, I mean, that seems unconscionable. But I spoke to Ms. Howell's office, and I'm quoting here. They said the city hasn't been sending us timely information, and we, quote, we would hope to see more progress. They noted that there's been little change in key risk areas, such as the fact that expenditures continue to outpace revenue, that there's ineffective and inefficient organizational management, which negatively impacts Hemet's provision of public services. But they did note that Chris Lopez was getting back to them in a more timely fashion, and at least he's trying to change that sort of the climate. But you yourself, as I said, noted some other issues and had to bring these to their attention. Once you're in office, what will you do to help liaise with City Council and other departments to bring more transparency and someone who's not asleep at the wheel to allow these things?
Thank you for that question. I've already been down to see the city manager, Chris Lopez, and I asked him that very question. What do you see different for the new treasurer? And I said, because I would like to propose in your city council meetings that the treasurer stands up. Every meeting is recorded on YouTube.
Right.
So every single citizen in Hemet can watch the treasurer of the city of Hemet stand up and say, okay, we just had $1 million CD mature. We were earning $3,000 a year on it, $30,000 a year, probably $1 million, 3%. Anyway, so We were earning that amount of money on it. We're now going to take that $1 million and we're going to invest it in schools or in Mr. Kotiak's expansion of the things, and we're going to earn this percentage. And that percentage to the taxpayer is more or less. So I am going to, on camera, once a month, tell you what is going on with that money that month for that month. Additionally, may I?
Sure.
There's another thing. So, not only did I cause them to move money out and make us more money, I also caused them, with Carly Meyer's help, to form an oversight committee for the investments.
Right, that was at the assistance of yourself and Carly.
Yes. So, there is not a single citizen on that oversight committee, not one. So it is my goal to get citizens to have a discussion. We have $1 million. It just came, so we have at least these 3 opportunities. Which one pays a better interest? Which one has a higher rate of, maybe an AA or a AAA rating, and which one will benefit our Hemet citizens the most? Right. So I want people involved in that oversight committee. And if you're watching this and you're interested in this, reach out to GladysSavage2020@gmail.com.
Now, is it Gladys Sue Savage or
No,
just
sir.
Gladys?
Yes,
so,
Gladys.
so just make sure you get it right, because it's Gladys Savage 2020
at
gmail.com.
Please.
And what is your site? Do you have a campaign site?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you for asking.
That's right.
So it's GladysSavage2020.com. And interestingly enough, as I asked you, you can go to that site and you'll actually see me standing in front of City Council talking about the times. There were times when she didn't even make a report. Say you didn't get a bank, every month your bank sends a statement. What if you didn't get a statement from your bank one month? What if the next month you didn't get it? What if the next month? So you'll see me talking about all of the issues that I've already fought for to make a better treasurer position. Thank you so much.
No, it's wonderful to speak with you. And I will just say that she may not always want to make you lean in and hug her, but this woman is a fighter. And she really does care, and she's very committed, and she's extremely passionate. Thank you so much. It's wonderful seeing you.
It's nice to see you as well. Thank
All
you so
right,
much.
before you get out of your chair, we do have some other questions.
Okay, sure.
All right, let's start with, let me pull up, Ann Smith wants to know, question number 1, do you have a broker's license?
Our buddy Ann Smith with an interesting question. Why? I wonder why she would ask that.
We will answer that question, and then we will explain to Mark why she is asking. I do not have a broker's license, but I do have 50 years worth of investing experience, not in the municipal area, but investment. So I understand how investment works, and I understand what you should do, and I understand about hedging, and I understand all that stuff. So that is not unfamiliar to me, but my opponent does have a broker's license. My opponent does, which always has to make you wonder, isn't there a conflict of interest here? If the city of Hemet is doing investments and you have got to pay commissions and fees for those investments, and now I'm a broker, as my opponent is, where do those fees and commissions go to? And don't I have a conflict of interest? If you go, he is a broker for ShareMaster. If you go on the internet for ShareMaster, you'll see he can claim he will not take the money from the Hemet citizens. He doesn't work that way. He gets his commissions from the people selling the instruments. So they would bring him bonds, they would bring him CDs, they would bring him, he would pay them their commission, and then the city of Hemet would own it. Right. So I have an issue. I believe there's a conflict of interest there. When you're managing $90 million, it's hard to imagine
the temptation.
The temptation, right? The temptation. So I'm not going to say that I think you have to question the conflict of interest.
And if I may just jump on Ann's question and to ask you, if you don't know, that's fine. But I do know that he's been questioned about it for a period of several weeks, and yet now we're just basically a month away from the election.
Yes.
And he's still not done anything about it. He
owns the business.
Well, he continues to say that he's going to to dissolve the
Oh,
license. But unfortunately, he hasn't.
Well, what I'm going to say is it would be interesting. He had, if you go out and you look at ShareMaster on the web and you Google lawsuits and ShareMaster together, okay, you will find the answers there. So I'm not sure he can dissolve ShareMaster because there are issues with ShareMaster in courts right now. So you can't exactly
I don't
dissolve
know,
it.
and again, I don't know a lot about it, so I'm going to defer to you, but if you don't know, is it his own corporation?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
he's the
even
sole,
more. I mean,
right.
that's even more.
Right. He's the sole proprietor of that corporation, and yes, yeah. So that's as a citizen, I have concerns.
I would just say that I like the sound of giving someone the job who's been doing the job for 2 years for no pay.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
All right, got one more question?
Oh, we have more questions.
And Smith. Sue, can you talk about the differences between your opponent, Howard Firebaum? Why are you a better candidate? Do you have a broker's license, which you answered? And how would that affect a job of treasurer? Isn't that a conflict of interest? So some of that question you already answered, but the others, if you want to go ahead with that.
Well, as Mark has wormed out of me, I have actually been kind of doing that job. I actually have been driving city council to set up an oversight committee. I've actually gone to the oversight committee meetings. I've actually been in poor Julie Oldman's face, telling her, why are you not doing more local area investment funds? Invest in our community. You heard Mr. Koch.
I was going to say, it's
right?
exactly what
why are we not
talking
investing in local area investment funds? Why are we, anyway, so I'm familiar with where the money is, I'm familiar with how it flows, I'm familiar with callable notes and bonds and all of the things that would benefit the citizens of Hemet. So, and I think it would be a great fun thing.
I just, just for my own, and I think it would be interesting to let everyone know, because I couldn't find out, but just give us a little bit of your, that doesn't have to be a long-winded, but just give us a little bit of your background and how you got interested in this and that.
Oh, I asked these guys. So I'm about money. Aren't we?
I'm asking.
I know, but aren't we all about
exactly,
money? So of course, when this money thing comes floating by me, about 1/4% compared to 3%, why? So I'm a systems analyst. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a systems analyst.
So then numbers and
numbers,
incidentals and small things.
all of that, and databases, all of it. I love that.
That's wonderful, because there's a lot of that kind of thing that's coming your way.
I love it.
Bless you. Well, we need somebody like you, because I would fall asleep in the middle of it. Thank you, sir. It's wonderful.
Well, I can make you interested. It's very interesting, actually.
Really? You'd have to really work hard.
You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
Well, thank you, Mark. Is that it? We're done?
Okay, got one more question from Ann Smith. Wants to know.
You know what? This woman is a pain. Who is this Ann Smith? No, just good. Go ahead.
Okay, Ann Smith wants to know. I've got her on the phone right now. She wants to know if you plan on doing an audit before you do anything else if you get elected.
Oh, that little question. All right. Well, so the current treasurer was elected in 1996. That means
the Pope was Polish.
Yeah, the Pope is still Polish. Right. Okay. Exactly. That's quite a long time ago. She has run for election 6 times. In that 6 times, the investment portfolio has never undergone an audit. So I am certainly not going to insinuate that there's anything missing or that there's anything gone amiss. But also, I'm not going to take over a portfolio that someone has had for 24 years without some assurance to me that there's not something in there that's going to come and get me down the road. So one of the first things I'm going to do is indeed push for an audit that shows me every transaction everywhere, so that maybe the treasurer's not bleeding off, but maybe Bank of New York Mellon is, or maybe local area investment. I just want to make sure that all the money's there. You can tell by now I really, so I want all the money there, everything's orderly, everything's good, and then I'll be happy.
And so just one thing that Ann's question brought up,
Sure.
prompted. Well, I think sometimes people say things and you say, oh, okay, well, there's the excuse, or that's the answer, and that's it. But what do you say to those who say, well, no, the pun group got involved, and the pun group, they did that, and they audited, so everything's fine. Well, what is your take on that?
Every single city. Answer the question.
She's about to get angry.
No. I was going to go down a bunny hole. With respect to your audit person, I was going to talk about why you're not getting your information is because of that it's taking them until December. We close our books June 1st. Okay? And it's taking them until December to get an answer, to get that. All right. What the pun group does is they take the finances bookworks and they say, here you put 2, here you put 2. 2 plus 2 is 4 for us. Is 2 plus 2 is 4 for you.
Right, so they just take the numbers. They don't have any.
They take the numbers and they make sure the numbers are on the right place on the paper and that the numbers add up. Okay? And as Ms. Meyer has pointed out, in this instance, the numbers did not add up. And the pun group said everything was fine, and Ms. Meyer was just saying, no, not quite. You missed something between page 3 and page 4.
And you were right. Now, this also speaks to the fact that 2018 caps don't roll over.
Say it again, 2018.
2018 caps, was it, that don't roll over to 2019 and the 2000?
Now you're talking the checkbook.
Right.
So I don't know.
So you don't do that. Right?
I don't know. I'm not a politician. When I don't know, I'm going to tell you.
No, that's totally fine.
I don't know.
Well, I think we got a great conversation here with Sue Savage. Bless you and thank you, and good luck. Good luck. And it's Gladys Sue Savage, and again, the website is
Gladys Savage 2020 .com. Okay, and then you can find me on Facebook, Gladys Sue Savage.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate your time. Yes, thank you so much, sir. Yeah. Take care.
All right, and Ed, we're just going to keep rolling along.
Yeah, let's go ahead and keep rolling.
Like Old Man River, because we got my new buddy Joe Mails coming in.
Do you want my
Be easy on me.
What's that?
Be easy on me.
Okay, I will be easy on you. So it's an honor because we have
Sue.
Oh,
can you grab my signs right there?
Yes.
Right there.
We got to put up Joe's signs.
Just a couple.
3 of them. You're going to put 3 of them right behind you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that.
No, there's no sorries.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, upcoming next we have Joe Mails.
Get that name right. Get that name right.
That's Joe Mails. And then comes Michael Percival. I'm interested to interview because I've only met Michael twice and never got a chance to interview him. But Joe, it's an honor to meet you. You're a born fighter. That's a good thing because that's what we need in this uphill battle to bring Hemet back to social and fiscal sanity. And right at the beginning, I mean, you started. You know, most people, you get into a race and, you're talking to your opponent and you're battling ideas, but this has gotten even worse. They're trying to actually kind of bounce you out of the race itself. So give us a little bit of how they came about, what's going on, and where we're standing right now.
Well, initially, they had the cutoff date to fill your paperwork out and get that submitted. I think it was either 6 or 7. I was told by the city clerk that you have an extra 5 days because Bonnie Wright, the incumbent, was termed out and she couldn't run again. So they told me I had till the 12th.
Yeah.
So I was going to turn my paperwork in on the 6th or 7th. And I called and I said, I think I'll wait to make sure all my paperwork's correct since I have that extra 5 days. And so I turned my paperwork in on the 10th. And 2 days prior to the
date you were given.
Right, and it was on the website. The date was it's on the website. I took a snapshot of it, and August 12th is your deadline. So after they've seen all the response of me running,
coming out for Joe, we're in trouble.
And I had my drive-by parade with the American Legion riders and the Patriots, and with other riders and cars, and it was pretty good. A good turnout. And so all of a sudden I get two emails stating that they were fighting it in court and said that I have no right to be on the ballot.
Right, and it particularly disturbed me because you're a friend of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds through people like Jerry Chase and others, if not thousands of veterans who were veterans themselves. And I just thought it was such an ugly, sneaky kind of thing. I just have a question. You are firmly convinced it's not going to be a problem, and you said if you have to, you'll take it to court. Where does it stand right now?
Well, we were supposed to be in court yesterday, and they postponed it.
Okay.
And the law
now
office...
Now, they being who postponed it? The other side?
The other side. And it's the law office of Priscilla Madrid. And my opponent is Michael Madrid.
Yeah,
so.
Okay. Now, do we know if there's any tie-in? Is it a relative? I mean, it would be an odd coincidence if it wasn't. I mean,
now the law firm specializes in something other than politics. They specialize in, I believe it's realty or something, real estate.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's
all
really,
of a sudden they
all of a
jumped
sudden,
into they got into election law.
Right.
So, overnight.
Yeah,
Interesting.
And then all these posts are coming up on Facebook with people asking questions. Well, you don't live in Seven Hills, and yes, I do. Or the address you live in was vacant at this date. No, it wasn't.
And no, it wasn't. Right.
Yeah.
So you're getting all these kind of odd things popping up.
Right, and that's to discourage people from voting for me, which is ridiculous.
No, exactly. And you heard me ask, and I'm going to ask Michael Percival as well. But you heard me ask Sue Savage some of the same questions because we obviously have had an ongoing problem that the minority, let's say, on the council, that there's only one or two people that have always kind of fought this. So once you're elected, and what is your district again?
District 4.
I always like to mention. So you're in District 4, and once you're elected in District 4. What are you going to do to stop the seeming, I don't want to jump in and sort of comment as far as incompetence or corruption, whatever, but the seeming ongoing problems that have seemed to hamstring us from going forward?
Well, I'm hoping that Mike, Carly, and myself win our election.
Exactly.
And we can become the majority. So we can make the decisions and put away all this negative stuff within our city. There's too much going on.
No, and it's a beautiful time, I think, in the city of Hemet, because once that happens, we get to have the fun then of watching a massive comeback with a sort of unified body that's really looking to change things. What do you think that you bring as a veteran, as a fighter, as someone who's owned, how long have you owned your own business? You've had business?
I had a business for over 22 years.
22 years. Here in Hemet?
No, well, I ran it from Hemet also.
Right. Okay.
But I'm originally from Whittier,
okay.
And I had my clients since I was on the borderline of Orange County and in LA County. I had clients in Century City, LA, Orange County, Tustin area, all throughout, even San Diego. I had clients in San Diego and Riverside.
Right.
And I ran it for 22 years. I was told when I first started my company, oh, you're never going to make it. But I'm a positive thinker, and I don't let people tell me I can't do something when I know I can. So I started the business, and it was just me, by myself, and I was the CEO, finance officer, marketing director, everything it takes to run a business, that was me. So I learned a lot, and I learned that when you're out there making your money and you're not working for someone else and you get that check on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or bi-monthly basis, that you have to really pinch every penny you make.
Sure.
And so I learned how to be conservative with my money and actually make money and put it away. So I mean, 22 years of running a business, and I bought multiple houses, and I was able to purchase my home in two in Whittier, and then two out here in Hemet.
And to be clear, you do live in Seven Hills. I
live in Seven Hills.
You are in your district.
I am in my district.
So
I have
none
paperwork
of
that
that stuff
can
can
prove
prove,
it.
right,
So
exactly.
everything they're saying is erroneous. It's not.
Right. Just to kind of blow up smoke, I would also, I thought it was very poignant, and I know it's a bit personal, but I would ask you again just to give us the sort of thumbnail and the story of what made you run, what happened here, the tragic circumstances.
My son in 2016, he had taken over my business.
Also a Marine.
Yes, also a Marine. 4 years in the Marine Corps, went overseas, did his thing. I was in the Marine Corps in '73. I made it to the Philippines to train to go to Vietnam, but by the time our training was over, we had the peace accord, and so I ended up in Guam guarding the refugees as they came in. So I didn't make it to Vietnam, but my son did make it to the Persian Gulf, and you know, he came home safe. He went to college, got his 2 degrees, his associate's degree, and his bachelor's degree. He took over my business because I went to a liver transplant. Because in the Philippines, when I was in the Philippines, I ended up with hepatitis and was in quarantine for 3 months. So they told me it would go dormant, it would come back, and it came back. And so I had to have a liver transplant. I almost lost my business, but my son at the time got out of the Marine Corps, went to college, got his degree, and took over the business, and it was booming. Comes here on Father's Day of 2016 and gets killed, murdered. And it was devastating. I just wish I would have died during my transplant. Nothing a parent wants to go through. And that was my youngest son, my baby, and we were close.
Right.
So it really devastated us.
And you say that loss and memory of that loss is what propelled you to say, I'm going to change.
Yes, and to see the city, the way it's being run, it's with the homeless, break-ins. I'm the commander at the American Legion over here at Post 53. I joined the American Legion in 2 months. I was the first vice commander. They made me first vice commander. Our Legion was going down. Our Legion had no money. They were every meeting we had. They said we're going to be closing the doors because we don't have any money. So we got rid of that group of officers and took over. I became the commander. I have a good finance officer, Luis Morales. We have good officers. Larry Blair, which is our first vice commander that loves the Legion. We took it over and we restructured everything. I ran it like a business. Right. We had no money in the bank. We were borrowing money to pay our bills. Now we have over $22,000 in the bank.
Wonderful.
Never. Yeah, in the last 10 years, we never had $22,000 in the
bank. How many dinners have you given to raise funds, and how many people have you helped with that?
Oh, we've helped a lot. We've helped a lot of people. We have our veterans that are in wheelchairs. One was on the streets with his family. He has a child and a wife. We got him into an apartment. We worked on that. Plus,
I remember too, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I remember too, it was a beautiful story. My girl Sandy, if you're out there, it's you in a million years. But I remember the gentleman the gentleman who was I believe he had some hearing issues, and they did a benefit at Applebee's, and it was him and his 3 kids and his wife, and you guys turned the so you were able to turn that whole situation around to start helping people.
Yes, we have. And plus another family, a Marine family, they were on the streets, they had nowhere to go. But see, we partner with Cloverland Foundation. They help a lot.
Yes.
With Empire Mobility, Mike Wooford, Jerry Chase. So we partnered together to work together to help these servicemen and women. And we've done a lot.
So you've not only built businesses, you've overcome tragedy, and you've also helped rebuild a nonprofit.
Yes, definitely have. Yes.
So I think it's a situation wherein the professional politicians aren't serving the citizens. It's time that the citizens step up and we need people.
It's time to go in and clean house and get this city back to where it belongs.
Exactly. And again, Joe, you are in District 4.
District 4. Yes.
Joe Mails.
Joe Mails.
Bless you.
And my website's www.jmailsccd4 for City Council 4.com.
And don't listen to Eddie, it's M-A-L-E-S.
Mails.
Bless you.
All right, keep Joe on the stand real quick. I got some more questions for you, Joe.
Okay.
Number one, it's more of a comment, and I wanted to throw this comment out here, and I want to thank, let's see, who made this comment. It says replying to Ann Smith. Ann Smith, okay. In other comments, wait, this is the second question. In other comments, it's interesting that people are second guessing where Joe lives. Wonder if it's coming from his opponent, Mike Madrid, who happens to be a volunteer for Hemet Police Department. Makes you wonder. When I questioned Mr. Madrid on the phone conversation, he tried to deflect, but finally admitted that Percival Madrid has some connection to him. He didn't say that she was a family member, but do a background on him on Google, folks. She is a relative. It's internet, folks. You got anything you want to say on that?
Well, it's sad to have somebody do this as an opponent and an opponent, and I would never do something like this. I love everybody. I work with everybody, and I can't see somebody doing this.
Well, your work with the veterans has been exemplary.
I'm sorry?
I said your work with the veterans has been exemplary. Yeah. It's been, I mean, you've done so many wonderful. And we were writing about them regularly in the newspaper, so it's wonderful stuff. And I think it has to stop. If there's a difference of ideas and one group of ideas wins, that's different. But this kind of ugly backbiting stuff
it's shameful. It is.
No.
Any other?
Yes. This one, Ann Smith.
So I think when we say welcome to the Ann Smith Show.
Yeah. Ann Smith is
Mark Lentine does the Ann Smith Show.
I got to shake Ann Smith's hand on this one. I actually removed this.
What's she talking about when you did it? What's she talking about?
Just a comment. This is not a question, but I agree with you, Ann. Bonnie Wright needs to butt the hell out. She messed up. Not Joe Miles. So tell me, how can Joe be wrong when the city blew it? Seriously, she made a legal declaration admitting that she screwed up. Joe would not have done that.
Wow. And we got silence.
We got silence on that one.
Okay.
So,
well, I love Bonnie.
And I've noticed that Bonnie Wright, and I don't know if she's watching, and I don't care if she is
do as well,
watching.
so that's tough. But
Bonnie Wright kept going in, reporting your post on Hemet News, and got one of them removed through Facebook saying there's an election.
That's a shame, because Bonnie.
But anyways, I don't know why she has any say, so she's not even in here in Hemet no more.
Well, I love Bonnie.
Next question from Muriel Warner.
Well,
what are the boundaries?
Not from Ann Smith again. It's Ann Smith, just with a fake name. She put a mustache on and she gave what's her name?
What are the boundaries for District 4? I think I'm in it, but I'm not sure.
Oh, the boundaries south of Stetson, between Warren and State.
South of Stetson, between Warren and State.
All right. And if we have anybody else that's watching the live stream that has any questions, I'm going to give you a few seconds for your question to come in. Go ahead and ask it now if you have any questions for Joe.
Joe doesn't
dodge. We're going to continue on to the next one. Any questions? We good? Got to give it a few seconds because we do have a delay. That's why Mayor got cut out on his question.
I can't believe that's really it's a shame. It really is.
It's by taking orders.
Okay, I don't see any more questions.
Hoorah!
That's right. All right, go get some hands for Joe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Bless you, bless you.
Muriel Warner says you definitely have her vote.
Oh, great.
All right, next one we got coming up is Michael Percival.
Oh, we need to get the signs out. Give me a minute.
Yes, Muriel. Joe does have yard signs. If you will hit him up, he'll make arrangements for you to get some yard signs.
You can leave them there, man.
All right, let's get
Carly Meyer was going to be here, but she had some things she had to take care of at home. But we will be setting up another, actually we're going to be doing a candidate live debate. It will be set up next few weeks.
Oh,
so,
wonderful. Wow.
This is
Okay,
going
well,
It's going to be very interesting.
It'll be interesting when you get all the candidates.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome, Mike and Percival. It's so nice to actually get to sit in his office.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
My pleasure.
There's so many things you've done. I don't even know where to start, except to say you must have felt somewhat lonely in the last few years on the city council as you were trying to get things done. That I'm not trying to put you in a spot or paint you in a corner, but it must have been a daunting thing. But you kind of hung in there and kept working with that.
So yes. So you paint a broad picture. So.
Right.
Was I lonely? No, because here's the thing: is that ultimately, being on council, I have always put every decision I make, every vote that I make is for the benefit of Hemet. How's it going to benefit Hemet? So it doesn't matter what political party you're on. I mean, this Hemet Council is nonpartisan, so everything is about Hemet and putting Hemet first and making sure that what's done on council and the decisions made on council to benefit the city. So with that, there's been, when I look at my background, you mentioned that, I do a lot. I am a real estate broker. And so in a real estate broker, it's my job as a broker is to bring parties together and kind of broker deals together. So I use that experience and knowledge in that on council to get consensus. So the year that I was mayor in 2018, there was a lot of things that we were able to get done, even though there's always back and forth, which is good. But at the end of the day, bringing the right solution to get something accomplished, and we've been able to do that. It's been probably over the last couple of years that there started to be more of a divide on decisions being made, and I don't know exactly where it's coming from. I don't know if it's influence from people out of town or influence from people in town, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's what's good for the taxpayers and the residents of Hemet. Right. And that's where my position has always been. When I make a decision or put my name on something, whether it be a resolution about Measure U, I'm going to stick to it. And that's what I've done. I've been across the board, even keel on where my positions have been. Right. So there's never a guess. I mean, if it's going to benefit Hemet, that's where I'm going to be.
Exactly. I tried to get some background and to look into some things to try and formulate some questions. Would there be anything that you would have done differently for the deadly, dreaded, I shouldn't say deadly, but the dreaded median? Some people try and...
So, and I'm glad you bring that up, because the median has been a thorn in Hemet's side for a long time. So I know that a couple years ago, in fact, I think it was the year that I was mayor, there was an article that came out trying to put all the blame on
and
me.
That's what I was trying to say.
The problem is that when I got elected in 2016, we were already at the 11th hour on the whole median project. This project has been going on for years.
And I don't think people get that. They want to say it's a 1, 2, 3 thing, and it just starts 5 minutes before you got in, and then all of a sudden it's Michael Stall.
So the median project has been in the works for many, many years prior to me getting on council. In fact, the city had certain deadlines that they had to meet to file an appeal, to file an injunction, and the city missed those deadlines, and those deadlines were missed before I even got on council. So when the year that I was mayor was coming up to this project getting really off the ground and moving forward, I went to Sacramento. I met with governor's staff, and we brought a bunch of folks up to argue the case that this is a bad thing for Hemet, while Caltrans was saying, oh, it's a safety project. It's a safety project. But we pointed out a lot of different things that were
not so safe, people crossing and walking down the median.
Exactly, and we see that now.
We see that today.
Yes.
And every time I drive down Florida Avenue and I see people still jaywalking,
Oh, it's every day.
walking down the
Really,
median,
yes.
it's always, that's exactly what we told them was going to
Literally
happen.
3 days ago, mother with a coach, I'm thinking, what are we doing? God forbid.
Yeah. And so I've been opposed for the median project, and for those reasons. One, that it's not going to make things safer. When we looked at the data that the Caltrans was using, a lot of the collisions were happening at intersections where, whether there's a median or no median, the collisions are still going to happen there. And we looked at that. We looked at where, because the data was spread out over sections of the highway. And so we looked at where a lot of these collisions occurred, and a lot of them were areas that a median wouldn't have helped. And then some areas where a median would have most definitely helped, they're not doing that project right now. I made the comment to Caltrans and said, hey, why don't you, if this is truly a safety project, put this median in from the 215 to the city limits first, where there's less chance of people having to pull into businesses, because if you look at on the south side of 74 from the 215 coming east, there's a lot of chain link fence, so there's no places for people to make those left turns into businesses or residential streets or whatever, so there's less opportunity. So truly, if this is a safety project for preventing cross-median collisions, people crossing over and going into the head-on into the opposite lane of traffic, that would be the area for this median project to truly shine for that safety project and for what Caltrans was telling the city. So I said, start it there, and then if it works, then
prove it.
Prove it first, and then bring it into Hemet, not 8.5 miles of it, but bring it in to where there's areas where it would be beneficial, and it's not going to cut off businesses that are on both sides of the highway.
Excellent. And what was their take? What was their comeback? What did they say?
Their response was, this is our project, it's a safety project. The area from the 215 to the city limit is slated for another project, and we're doing this one first. It doesn't matter.
Nice.
We don't care.
I mean, your
literally,
approach
that's what
definitely made sense of it. I would ask just two other things. I don't know that it behooves anyone to keep harping on the same, the monetary and financial issues and the problems and so forth. But what can be done, especially if, for example, you have, and again, this isn't certainly not against Russ Brown, but I'm just saying, what if you can get people that are more, let's say, like-minded to you on the balance of council, what does that mean as far as the ideas that you want to push forward? And what do you think that city council, that new Hemet looks like?
So
that might be a little inarticulate. I apologize.
It's a loaded question, but
you're right, and I apologize.
And here's my simple answer: is that ultimately it's council's job to make sure we're looking after and we're good stewards of the people's money, because this money doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to Russ. It doesn't belong to the city manager. It belongs to the taxpayers of Hemet, and so it's important that our staff realize that that's where the money comes from. It's important that we're able to hold staff accountable for doing a job that they're professionals, and they should, and not just should, but they are held to a higher standard. So it's important that they do the job properly and that they are good stewards of this people's money also. And so, it's when our public sector employees do good, people see it. When they do bad, people see it. And so we need to be able to hold them accountable, and that's where I think probably in the last 2 years, I think this is where Carly and I have been where we've been, exactly. Because we are trying to hold staff accountable and trying to make sure that they're doing things the way they're supposed to be done, the way resolutions that have been passed by council are laying it out for staff to do it that way. And so that's what it's been, is that we're trying to hold people accountable. And Whether the other council members don't want to hold them accountable or just want to go through the motions, that's on them, and that's on them. And I'm not going to judge them for that. But for me, and for my personally for me, it's about accountability. I mean, people can hold me accountable if I'm not doing a good job. Don't reelect me. But if I'm doing the job that you think I'm doing good on, then I'm looking for your vote.
And I thought earlier this evening you made a good point. You said you're a broker, and every one of us lives in a house of some type, or a domicile, or a dwelling of some type. And so it doesn't, when property values go down, that helps no one. So
it helps. Well, it doesn't help no one, because when property values go down, there are people that do benefit. Those are the investors. So when you've got
very interesting.
When you've got investors that have money, they're going to buy housing when it's inexpensive. And so, the housing market goes up and down. It has for millennia. And so when you've got when the housing market crashes, that's when all the cash investors come out, and they're buying up all these properties cheap. And that's exactly what happened to Hemet in 2008. So when the housing market in 2008 crashed, there were investors that came in with a lot of cash to Hemet and brought a lot of properties cheap. And so, if you look at the tax rolls, there's some people that own numerous properties in Hemet, and they rent them out, and that's good for them. I mean, they're an investor, and that's what they're doing.
Right.
It's like with everything, you buy low and sell high, and the market's been going strong. The housing market has been going strong for years. It's been going super strong in other areas. Hemet has always lagged behind. When the market crashed, Hemet crashed first, and crashed hard. And then, as the recovery has gone, other areas have recovered higher than Hemet. But Hemet is recovering, but it's been slower. It doesn't help when we have people, talk bad about our community. I talk about this about economic development, right? I want to see economic development happen in our community because it benefits everyone. Exactly. It brings in more tax dollars for the city to be able to provide more services. And so when we've got people on social media and whatever, and in the media, when they talk bad about the city, when you've got big companies that are looking to relocate or bring in product and industry and that, we want our community to look good and sound good and be good because it will benefit. It'll bring in those jobs. It'll get people back to work and bring in those tax dollars and benefit us all.
And just one last question, and it's sort of open-ended, but what are your thoughts on Measure U and where do we go from here?
Yeah, so I've been supportive of Measure U for the sole purpose that it's local tax dollars being used locally for public safety. So I've been from day one, even when it was Measure E before Measure U, I was supportive of it because it had a purpose, and it didn't just because it was a consumption tax. And so anybody that bought goods in Hemet would be paying it, whether you're a resident or not. I know that there was, before Measure E came out, I know that they had looked at
approval. Okay, we're live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry about this. I want to say, Joe, thank you for holding Mayor's cell phone. Our battery went dead on the camera, and I don't have another battery. I didn't know it was going to take this long, but we are going to go ahead and continue on right here using Mayor Cutlick's phone on Hemet News. So you want to continue back up to where you were at, and then I got some questions to ask.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just say this for your final thoughts on Measure U that you start to give, and then we'll go to the questions. How's that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so Measure U, I mean, it's local tax dollars that are paid for not just by residents, but people coming through Hemet that stop at the stores and purchase goods. So, it's about keeping those tax dollars here in Hemet and using them for public safety. When I came on, so as I mentioned, the previous council, before I got elected in 2016, had all signed on a resolution that they were going to use those tax dollars for public safety.
Right.
So police and fire split 2/3 to police, 1/3 to fire. And so when I got elected in 2016, the new seated council, we took that same position and signed on with a new resolution that said basically the same thing, that this new council agrees that these monies are needed for public safety, and so that's, even though it was a general fund tax, we still allocated that money toward the,
Right, to
toward
hold
public
yourselves
safety.
to it.
Absolutely.
And just as a quick reminder, District 3 is what of the map?
Yeah, so District 3 is west central Hemet, so if you start at Palm and Stetson, and you were to drive west on Stetson all the way to the city limit, cut across the city limit, it's kind of near the San Diego Canal, and it'll take you to Florida Avenue. You'll go east on Florida Avenue to Costin Avenue, take Costin Avenue to Menlo, Menlo to Lyon, Lyon to Whittier, and then Whittier east to encompass all of Sierra Don South. So it's all of Sierra Don South, and then pretty much everything between Stetson and Menlo to the city.
Now, Ed, you did say we had some questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Joe over here. I'm gonna move my camera. And let Joe get a little bit closer to you.
But they get out of view if you do that.
Oh, yeah, because we are sideways. We'll just pull it.
Can I turn it?
Yeah, just turn left. No, it won't do it that way.
Oh.
Just aim it at. All right. Here's a question for you, Michael. This is again from Ann Smith. Says, sorry for the hardball, but how do you feel about the balance of power on the current city council? How do you think it has affected this kinds of decisions currently made when it's obvious that you and Carly Meyer have opposed key votes that have affected the budget?
I stayed away from that. I'm trying to give the guy a break, but okay.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for it. I mean, it's a legit question. It's a good question. The long-winded question, though, so let me kind of take this in pieces. I had mentioned early in the beginning that it's been over the last couple of years that there's been more and more of a divide on council. I can say this is that during my 4 years on council, I've only voted yes on one budget, and that was a balanced budget that utilized Measure D funding for public safety. My no vote on the previous two budgets previous to that were because they weren't balanced. They had to draw from reserves to pay the expenses. And then this most recent budget was a no vote because it didn't fall in line with the resolution, and it defunded the police department, it defunded the fire department. So we didn't lose current officers in that defunding, but it defunded vacant, unfilled positions, and so I was opposed to that. So that's where I'm at. It again goes back to my position is always going to be, if it's benefit to the taxpayers of Hemet, if it's the right thing and it's wise, then I'm going to go in that position. And that doesn't matter if it's, I mean, there's times that I voted against Carly, and we still talk and still, I mean, we still get along. And you know, and all of us get along on council, we get along. I mean, and there's a lot of votes that that pass unanimously because we've got to get the city business done. Because we can't make the city come to a standstill. So we make sure that but again, it goes back to, we have to hold staff accountable and make sure that they're falling within the guidelines of state law, county ordinance, city ordinance, and resolutions that have been passed by council.
Right.
So that's where I've always been, and
well, that's a pretty good standard.
Now I got a question coming from Rusty Straight.
And one can only wonder what it is.
He had his chance, I already know.
Yeah. Rusty wants to know basically what, if you get on Council 3, what is your goals about handling and how are you going to help handle the criminal issue that we have out here? The crimes have been going up, the homeless situation's been going up, and what is our goals about handling the crime and the homeless situation that we have?
Well, one, it's not going to be to defund the police. It's going to
right.
get more cops. So here's kind of the position that I have, because I've mentioned this to you before. is that I've got a law enforcement background. I retired from law enforcement, and so I get it. I know, and it's in a local law enforcement agency. So I understand the challenges that they have to deal with. I understand the challenges the chief has to deal with as far as getting people hired. It's difficult when you've got a city to the west of us that just started a new police department, and we've got cities to the south of us and cities to the north of us that are all in the same position trying to get cops hired. And it's difficult because you've got a very small pool of qualified people that can be cops. It's difficult to get through the background to be a police officer, to get through the physical part and then the background part. It's a process. It's long, and so to get cops hired, qualified, and it's a very small pool. And so that's challenge number one. Challenge number two is that we have the state of California, and unfortunately, Hemet is in that state, and we can't secede from California. So when the state of California passes AB 109 back in 2012, and then they pass, the citizens then pass Prop 47, and then follow that up with Prop 57. Yes. You've got AB 109 was strictly to get the state of California, that's under audit, just like the city of Hemet's been under audit. The Department of Corrections was under audit, and the whole state budget was, but Department of Corrections and the state audit was high risk. So AB 109 is born out of that to realign the prisons, get people out of state prison, make them the responsibility of the counties. Well, in 2012, when that happened, Riverside County jails were at capacity. Right. So what can they do? Somebody goes in, somebody goes out. They just don't have the room. So it's made it difficult and challenging for local law enforcement. Our sheriff's department partners, our city, other cities. But here's the thing to remember is that at any given time in our valley, after these propositions and assembly bills were passed, that the city of Hemet was the big law enforcement agency in the valley. Oh. We had the sheriff's department there and San Jacinto, but San Jacinto was a contract city with the sheriff's department, and then the sheriffs covered the unincorporated areas of the county, but they were limited in their resources, so they only had a few deputies working at a time, and they had to cover 600 square miles. And when you only got a couple deputies covering 600 square miles, it made it, and I think that it's probably a good thing that Bianco got elected, because he changed that, brought in more deputies, and because before he got elected, he was in the Hemet station. Right. So he saw the need and what was going on. So that's one. I mean, we've got challenges when it comes to law enforcement, period. How to deal with that? I mean, there's the homeless, they've got problems. You've got a section of those that are homeless that want to be homeless.
Exactly.
They don't want help. They want to be left alone. They want to do their thing, and they don't care. It's part of America. It's our free society, and people shouldn't be forcing somebody to do something if they're not breaking the law, because homelessness, let's be real, homelessness itself is not illegal to be homeless. And if they want to be homeless, God bless them. Then you've got the people that are homeless because they've got addiction problems. So the question is how do we get those people, because those are the people that we could eventually get to be able to get them. But the problem is that, and I've got my own experience with this, with trying to get people off the streets, right? Talking to them. You've got to, at the beginning, they're going to be like, yeah, whatever. Get out of my, I don't want to talk to you. You've got to build relationships with people, and you got to talk to them and see them over and over again and offer that help. And I've been out there doing that and get people off the streets. But it comes down to they have to want to get off the street. Right. And they have to want to get that help. And until they get to that point, they're going to be homeless.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Now, I got another question for you, Michael. Is a lot of people, you yourself heard the rumors that the city of Hemet is being paid to bring in homeless people and all that, and let criminals move in. What is your take on that?
The take on that is this: is that one, the city of Hemet, the city of Hemet is not being paid to bring these people to come to Hemet. The city is not being paid. In fact, it costs the taxpayers money because of increased services that the city provides when it comes to 911 calls, and paramedics and firefighters have to show up because somebody got stabbed or somebody got shot or somebody got ran over by a car. It takes the police resources that show up to all these things. So when you've got the elements that are not being, well, they are being brought in, but they're not being brought in by the city of Hemet. Here's the thing, is that if you do your research, there are a few hotels in Hemet and a few hotels in the city of Riverside that accept vouchers that are being distributed by the county of Riverside to be able to house homeless. Now, the governor has a program to get homeless people off the street. And what it does is it puts homeless into hotels. Well, there's a few hotels in the city that are accepting those vouchers. So it's not the city that's accepting these people, it's the hotel owners that are running these hotels or motels that are accepting these vouchers that are either coming from the county or the state. The county doesn't give these vouchers to the hotels directly. They give the vouchers get distributed to nonprofit groups that are homeless for homeless outreach.
Because we're hearing a lot of people are saying that they're getting, like a care package of a bag, they're paying them like $100 or whatever and tell them to come out here.
And candy.
Yeah, right.
I can't confirm that. Now, I can tell you this, is I did get a call from somebody or a text message somebody about a week and a half ago or so that said, hey, I just saw a busload of people just get dropped off, like a school bus, full-size school bus load of people being dropped off at one of the local hotels from a reliable source. That
Right,
this was
not
sent
just,
to.
okay.
So I sent a text message to the city manager. The city manager does the day-to-day operations.
Chris
Lopez, and he works for the council. And so I sent him a text message and say, hey, heard from a reliable source that a busload of people just got dropped off at a hotel. Please talk to the police chief, find out what you can find out, right? So he gets back to me a few minutes later and says the police department's very well aware of it. It wasn't homeless people being dropped off in the city of Hemet. It was actually migrant farm workers that were being housed to do that local farm work. So one of our local farms, it was their workers that were being housed, and the response was actually positive from the city manager and from the police chief, is that when the migrant workers are at these motels and staying in there, they actually have less calls for service. So they're actually there for it's a benefit. I mean, they're working for local farms and they're keeping other people out of that, the people that are committing crimes, they're not able to come in.
Do you have any idea why they're actually picking Hemet for these people to come?
So from
these homeless?
what I've been told is that there's only hotels and motels that are accepting these vouchers are only in Hemet and only in the city of Riverside.
Now,
so motels and hotels that are in Temecula and Marietta, they're not accepting it.
Now, I don't know if this is legal, but it could a resolution be passed saying that you're not allowed to accept those chits or those vouchers?
Give it like a regulation or something on it. You must be in Hemet for so long. Or?
Would it be politically smart to do it? Would it be legal? Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just
wondering. So that's like that fine line, right? Because I'm pro-business, right? And so for some of these motel owners, this is their sole source of income. So it goes back to I look back at when I was on the planning commission, and we were looking at a project that was next to a mobile home park, and the mobile home park was older, and the mobile homes that were in there were older and more run down, and it didn't look, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Right. And the new project that was going to be next to them was going to be for senior housing and smaller units, more affordable, less expensive. And my comment was to them, and it goes back to this, right? Same type of comment, is I'm not about people going out of business, but if your business model needs to change, then maybe your business model needs to change for the betterment of the whole community.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like Joe Miles was just, did I say his name right? Miles, Joe Miles, he's got a new name. But, you know, like Joe was saying, you know, they do get these vouchers for 2 weeks, and then after the 2 weeks is up, they're on the streets, and then we have them.
And that goes back to your question about, is the city of Hemet getting money for this? No, actually the city of Hemet, this is where it comes in, is the city of Hemet actually is forking out money in our resources, because then now our police are being called out more, and now our our fire is being called out. So these are resources that the city is paying for as a result.
So you have no idea that Bonnie Wright, when she was mayor, that she wasn't getting any money from San Bernardino to send their people out here? That's what a lot of the people in the community is commenting on.
I'm not going to comment on that because, that could become a serious allegation. And so anything that, as far as, I'll go in to say this, is that the city of Hemet has
Right.
for people being sent.
Also, I will just say that I had spoken to Chuck Washington and Michelle Armand, his chief of staff, way back when Bonnie Wright was mayor, and he categorically denied it, and they said, absolutely not, that's not being done. So, for whatever that's worth.
Well, like they're saying, there's signs in LA telling people to move to Hemet and all that, and like the police department said there,
That's been the law. I mean, I think that's been a rumor since I lived in Hemet.
right. And it's so funny, nobody can ever get us a picture of that sign, you know? And the police department, I believe, if I heard this correctly, I was talking with Captain Brock, and I believe they said that they even got a reward out to anybody that can actually show us a picture of this sign. We want to see it.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's see the sign.
I think even Chief Brown, when he was police chief, Dave Brown, when he was police chief of Hemet, I think he even offered up some cash.
Right.
Show me a picture.
Where's the sign?
So here's what I can say about this, right? Hemet, if you look at housing prices, go back to housing, right, and affordability in that. If you look at housing affordability in Hemet is way more affordable than a lot of other cities.
Yes.
If you, just for like a standard, 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage in Hemet is anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 cheaper than it is just in Menifee.
Apples for apples, same house, basically.
Same type of house. So, it's kind of cliche, but it's that in real estate, it's location, right? So, I mean, it's true. And so, as far as housing goes, and why do people come to Hemet? Are there people that have moved to Hemet from LA? Yeah, because housing's affordable. It's way more affordable in Hemet than it is in LA. And so, even when I'm on the regional boards, I talk about how we keep driving the cost of housing up, and it's nickel and dime, and the fee, the developer impact fee that one agency, whether it be WRCOG or RCTC or RCA, those fees are small. The increments are small, but when you assess them over a large scale, it becomes larger. And so, I'm opposed to those fees being increased. The problem is that, and this is, I think this is probably Riverside County's fault, is that Riverside County has become a self-serving community, if you will, and that it's raising local tax dollars to take care of local infrastructure. And instead of getting those state dollars to build that infrastructure that the state should be responsible for, or those federal dollars that the federal government should be responsible for, we need to get those transportation dollars back into Hemet, back into the valley. Because it's
and what's
from,
the mechanism?
From
How does that happen? How does that come about? What has to happen?
That it comes from our representation on the regional boards that all the cities are part of.
So does it get back to what Andrew Patrick was saying, that we need to have people show up? Is that
absolutely? Yeah, because if we don't show up, you miss the vote, and you miss the argument on why those dollars need to come here, as opposed to going to Corona or and those other cities need those dollars just as much as we do.
Right, so
But
it's gotta
when
be
you got-
everybody
when you-
showing up to fight for
exactly,
your
showing
right
up.
of it.
But when you got the cities Temecula, Murrieta, Corona, Lake Elsinore that are on interstate highways, it's easier for them to get the federal dollars because they can get those federal dollars for the interstate
Right, they're
highways.
right there. And I would just, I don't know if there are any other questions, but I would just ask maybe to sort of wrap things up. I think it's easy to bash on that. I think it's easy to say, yeah, well, my gosh, there's so many problems. The economy and the whole bit, but what do you look for, and what do you hope, and what do you see as a sign or signs that, hey, it's turning around and we're heading in the right direction? What are you looking forward to in these next year to 2 years?
Yeah, so a lot has to do with perspective, right? So if you constantly have that mindset of there's so much crime and there's so much trash and there's so much this and so much that, you're going to see that. That's going to be your focus, right? So, when you're driving down the freeway or whatever, you say you're in whatever car you're in, right? You see that car. Whether you're in a white car, you see white cars. If you're in a red car, you see red cars, right? It's your focus, your perspective. But when you are, if that's all your focus, if all your focus is on crime and drugs and homelessness and riffraff, that's all you're going to see. If you take your time to change that focus a little bit and that perspective, you'll start to see the beauty that's in this community. I've made long-lasting friendships in Hemet since I've been here in the 20 years that I've been here. People that I met 20 years ago when we first moved here that my wife and I are still friends with today. So you've got that. There's Hemet it's a community, right? And if people change the focus to see the community,
right? Okay.
You'll see that. I mean, when we were out tonight at the event tonight over on Harvard, South Harvard, that's community. That's people getting together, getting out,
Right, just sharing it,
sharing what they have, right? And so if people would focus on that, they would see that, and they would see less of the crime. It's one of the things that it's frustrating for me about people that always talk bad about Hemet. Is my response to them is always, I don't put it out there, but it's like, we should just get out, right? Get in your car and drive to another community.
If you don't like it and complain about it, then leave.
Get on the bus and take the bus if you don't have a car. Find a way to get into another community, and you're going to see that our community is probably a little better off than some of the others.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of that, do I say, keep talking bad about Hemet, it'll keep other people away, and we can all enjoy.
That's so funny. The arts that are here,
There's a lot of community. There's a lot of good people in this town, and that get out and do a lot of good things for other people. And so that's what keeps me here in Hemet. I love this town. It's my kids grew up here. My granddaughters are growing up here,
and how many you don't have? You're not quite as many as Joe.
I don't have as many as Joe.
Okay,
Joe has got me beat by a long shot.
Joe's. I think you're up to two baseball teams, right? You got.
So yeah.
I think. I don't think there's any questions. Excellent. It was really great.
All right. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Michael Percival or talk about his shirt and his hair? Go ahead and give you guys a few seconds to give me a question if you'd like to ask.
Smith for not hosting the Ann Smith show.
If I could throw in some plugs.
Go for it.
Visit my website, michaelpercival.com.
Yes, thank you. michaelpercival.com. Perciful and your District 3. michaelpercival.com.
Check out my website. You'll be able to get more information about me, some of the things that I've done.
How long may I ask?
You can always go on the city's website,
How long
my YouTube page.
5 years. 5 years.
Thank you for your service.
So if I would have went in at 18, I would have probably made a career out of it. But I went in later.
Okay.
I went in post 9/11.
And you were also in, you said law enforcement.
I was.
How long were you
10
doing
years.
that?
No. No, down in San Diego.
Okay, San Diego. All right, I think, are we good?
City of Childress.
Looks like that's it. There you go. Yes, sir.
Why were you able to say his name but not mine?
Well, Percival, I know, it's the same one. That's all right, he's been calling me out. He's been calling me out.
Right, I know him longer. That's what it is.
He's been calling me Allenton for
Hey, I appreciate the time. Thanks.
No, it's great.
Eddie?
Not a problem. And if anybody else does have any questions, I'm actually, Mike, can you hold this real quick? And,
Yep.
talk to Mark real quick.
Yes, sir.
I want to say thank you guys for following us on Him and I News. We got a few live streams. We did have some internet issues. I didn't bring a bigger battery with me for my camera. I didn't know that this was going to actually last so long.
Exactly.
But we did not get all the councils here tonight that we wanted to.
Carly,
Carly Meyer
you
had
were
to
missed.
chicken out.
You were
No,
missed.
she didn't chicken out. Carly actually had some issues she had to take care of. She had to go home. But this is what we're going to do is Joe, all the other councilmen, everybody that's going to be running. I want to include San Jacinto candidates, Russ, us, everybody. Hemet, we're actually going to be setting up actually, it's not going to be a Trump debate. It's going to be a local Hemet, San Jacinto councilman debate. We want to get everybody in the rooms together. We're going to actually host this over at Stacy Olson's office. She has a nice area over there. So we'll have enough room. What we're going to do is we're going to do a live stream debate. We're going to have you, I think Dennis Fletcher, and Smith. There'll be, I think Stacy Olson's going to be asking questions. We're going to just let the candidates hash it out. And then we're going to turn around and open it for, a few minutes for the community to ask questions. So we'll be posting that up. Get everybody, get your platforms together, your candidates.
Do we have a date?
We're working on a date. We'll send out a mass email to all the candidates, and then we'll make a public announcement letting everybody know what date and time, because we got to get everybody's schedules together and all that.
And what
good
are the
stuff.
chances that you will be able to correctly pronounce Joe's name by that date?
Joe Mail? I got him down pat, bro.
I'm working for you. I was going to make sure you said that.
On every registrar's door.
Well,
Carly, you are Miss Carly.
What's her name? Michelle Romero. I always call Romeo. That and the Monogoni, that word is wrong. But thank you for joining in, folks. Appreciate it very much. I want to say thank you for Andrew Kutyak over there hiding for letting me use the cell phone because my camera kind of died on me tonight. So, hey, y'all make sure.
News going in this valley. Eddie, you're doing a great job. The people need to know. So keep sharing, everybody. Free media.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and end this live stream. Make sure y'all share the videos that we have out.